My name is Bianca. I'm 28 years old, and I never imagined my birthday dinner would become the night everything I believed about my family shattered into a million pieces. Sitting at that restaurant table, surrounded by people I loved, watching my younger sister Jasmine stand up with a champagne glass in her trembling hand and that strange glow on her face, I knew something was terribly wrong. I should have trusted my gut that night 3 weeks ago when I came home early and found them together on my couch. Before we dive into what happened next, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments below and please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories like mine. Because what happened next would shatter everything I thought I knew about my family. 4 years. That's how long Derek and I had been married when everything fell apart. We met at a networking event downtown, one of those crowded rooms where everyone's trying to make connections and hand out business cards. Derek stood out immediately. He was confident, successful, working his way up in real estate development. He had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room when he talked to you. I fell hard and fast. Our wedding was everything I'd dreamed of. We got married on a beach in California, barefoot in the sand, with the sunset painting the sky orange and pink behind us. My sister Jasmine was my maid of honor. She cried during the ceremony, told me she'd never seen me happier. I believed her. I believed everything back then. The first couple of years were good, really good. Derek and I would take weekend trips up the coast, exploring little towns and trying new restaurants. We'd spend Sunday mornings cooking breakfast together, dancing around the kitchen to old songs on the radio. We talked about our future constantly. Kids, a bigger house, maybe a dog. We bought a home in a quiet suburb, the kind of neighborhood where people actually knew their neighbors and kids rode bikes in the street. We'd been trying to have a baby for almost a year. Nothing was working. Every month brought disappointment, another negative test, another conversation about whether we should see a specialist. Derek would hold me when I cried, promise me it would happen when the time was right. I trusted him completely. My sister Jasmine is 3 years younger than me. Growing up, we were inseparable. She was the outgoing one, always the center of attention at family gatherings. I was quieter, more reserved, happy to let her shine. People always said Jasmine was the pretty one, with her long dark hair and easy smile. I never minded. I loved my sister. After I got married, Jasmine started coming over to our house more often. She'd show up on weekends, stay for dinner, hang out, and watch movies with us. Derek seemed to enjoy her company. They'd joke around, and I thought it was sweet that my husband and my sister got along so well. Isn't that what family is supposed to be like? Jasmine had built a career as a social media influencer. She posted about fashion lifestyle travel. Her life looked perfect online, all filtered photos and carefully crafted captions. She had thousands of followers who envied her seemingly carefree existence. But I knew the truth. Jasmine struggled with money, with relationships, with figuring out what she really wanted from life. I was always there for her, lending her money when she needed it, listening when she had problems, being the big sister she could count on. Our parents adored Jasmine. She was the baby of the family, and they'd always spoiled her a bit. Mum would make excuses for her flakiness, her impulsive decisions. Dad would slip her cash when she was short on rent. I never resented it. That was just how our family worked. I worked as a marketing manager for a mid-sized company. The job was stable, paid well, and I genuinely enjoyed it. I liked solving problems, creating campaigns, seeing results. Derek's career in real estate was more unpredictable. Some months were fantastic, big deals closing and commission checks rolling in. Other months were lean, but we managed. We were a team, or at least I thought we were. Looking back now, I can see the signs that things were changing. Derek started coming home later and later. He'd say he was meeting with clients, working on deals, networking. Real estate is a social business, he'd remind me. You have to be available when clients need you. I understood. I trusted him. We started having less time together, fewer Sunday morning breakfasts, fewer weekend trips. When we were home at the same time, Derek seemed distracted, always on his phone, always somewhere else in his mind. When I'd ask if everything was okay, he'd kiss my forehead and tell me he was just stressed about work. The real estate market was tough, he'd say. Competition was fierce. I believed him. About 2 months before my birthday, Derek suggested we throw a party to celebrate. A nice dinner at an upscale restaurant, invite my parents, Jasmine, a few close friends. Nothing huge, just intimate and special. I was touched. We'd been so busy lately, and this felt like Derek making an effort to prioritize us, to prioritize me. I said yes immediately. Jasmine volunteered to help with the planning. She called me excited, talking about decorations and menu options and what I should wear. She seemed genuinely thrilled to be part of making my birthday special. I appreciated her enthusiasm. My little sister, always ready to celebrate. The weeks leading up to the party, I felt hopeful. Maybe this dinner would be a turning point for Derek and me. Maybe we'd reconnect, remember why we fell in love in the first place. Maybe after the party, we could focus on trying for a baby again. Really focus this time. I had no idea what was actually being planned behind my back. 3 weeks before my birthday, everything started to feel wrong. It began on a Tuesday afternoon. I'd left work early because a client meeting got cancelled at the last minute. Instead of staying at the office, I decided to go home, maybe surprise Derek, spend the afternoon together if he was around. When I pulled into our driveway, I saw Jasmine's car parked on the street. That wasn't unusual. She had a key to our house and sometimes stopped by to hang out or raid our fridge. But something made my stomach tighten as I walked up to the front door. I heard laughter before I even opened it. Derek's deep chuckle and Jasmine's bright giggle. I pushed the door open quietly and walked into the living room. They were sitting on the couch together, close together, too close. Derek's arm was stretched along the back of the couch behind Jasmine's shoulders. She was leaning toward him, her hand on his knee. They both jumped when they saw me, literally jumped apart like teenagers caught by their parents. "Bianca," Jasmine said, her voice too high, too bright. "You're home early." "Meeting got cancelled," I said slowly, looking between them. "What's going on?" "Oh, I was just asking Derek about investment advice," Jasmine said, quickly smoothing her hair. "You know, I just got that big sponsorship deal, and I want to be smart with the money. Derek knows all about finances and real estate, so I figured I'd pick his brain." Derek nodded, not quite meeting my eyes. "Yeah, just giving her some pointers about diversifying assets, that kind of thing." It sounded reasonable. It should have felt reasonable, but something in the air felt thick, uncomfortable. The way they jumped apart, the way Jasmine's cheeks were flushed, the way Derek was suddenly very interested in his phone. "That's nice of you," I said, setting my purse down. "How long have you been here, Jasmine?" "Oh, just like an hour," she said casually. "I should actually get going. Thanks for the advice, Derek. See you later, sis." She grabbed her bag and practically rushed out the door. Derek and I stood in the living room in silence for a moment. "Want to order dinner?" he asked. "I'm not really in the mood to cook." That night, Derek barely spoke to me. He said he was tired, had a headache. We ate takeout in front of the television, not really watching anything, not really talking. When we went to bed, he turned away from me, was asleep within minutes. Or pretending to be. I lay awake for hours, staring at the ceiling, trying to shake the uneasy feeling in my chest. I told myself I was being paranoid. They were just talking. Jasmine needed advice. Derek was helping her. That's what families do. Right. 2 weeks before my birthday, I started noticing Derek's phone habits. He'd always been on his phone for work, that was normal. But now it was constant. He'd be scrolling and suddenly smile at something, then quickly close whatever he was looking at when he noticed me watching. He started taking his phone with him everywhere, even to the bathroom. He'd set it face down on the tables, angle it away from me when he typed. One evening, I walked into the kitchen and saw his phone light up on the counter. A text message preview showed on the screen. Just a letter, J, and the message, "Can't wait to see you." Who's Jay? I asked casually, nodding toward his phone. Derek grabbed it, quickly, glanced at the screen. Oh, that's James, my business partner. We're meeting tomorrow about a new property listing. You seem excited about it, I said, watching his face. It's a big opportunity, he said, not looking at me. Could be really lucrative. He walked out of the kitchen, phone in hand, and I heard him making a call from the other room. His voice was low, muffled. I couldn't make out the words. Later that night, I did something I'd never done before. While Derek was in the shower, I tried to look at his phone. It was locked, of course, but the passcode was our anniversary date. At least it used to be. When I tried it, the phone stayed locked. He'd changed it. My husband had changed his phone passcode and hadn't told me. I felt sick. 10 days before my birthday, Jasmine called me. Her voice sounded strange, tentative, in a way that wasn't like her. Hey, can I ask you something? She said. Sure, what's up? Are you and Derek happy? The question caught me off guard. What? Of course. Why would you ask that? I don't know, Jasmine said slowly. You just seem, I don't know, stressed lately. And Derek mentioned that you guys have been having some issues. Derek mentioned that just in passing, when we were talking the other day, about the investment stuff, remember? What exactly did he say? My heart was pounding. Just that marriage is hard sometimes, that you've been trying to have a baby and it's been stressful. He didn't go into details or anything. I sat down, trying to process this. Derek had been discussing our private struggles with my sister. Why, Jasmine, our marriage is fine. Yes, the baby thing has been frustrating, but we're fine. Why are you asking me this? I just want you to be happy, she said. You deserve to be happy, Bianca. Then she asked the question that made my blood run cold. Have you guys ever talked about divorce? No, I said firmly. Never. Where is this coming from? Nowhere, forget I said anything. I'm just being weird. Love you, sis. She hung up before I could respond. I sat there holding my phone, feeling like the ground was shifting beneath me. Something was very, very wrong. But I couldn't quite see the full picture yet. All I had were pieces, fragments that didn't quite fit together. Then Jasmine said something else before hanging up something that echoed in my mind for days. Maybe it's a sign. Not everyone is meant to be parents together. What did that mean? 1 week before my birthday, my best friend Alison called me. Her voice was tight, worried. Bianca, I need to tell you something and I don't know how you're going to take it. My stomach dropped. What is it? I saw Derek yesterday. At that cafe downtown, the one on Main Street with the outdoor seating. Okay, I said slowly, and he was with someone, a woman. They were sitting really close, holding hands across the table. Bianca, they kissed. Just a quick kiss, but it was definitely romantic. The room spun. I grabbed the edge of the counter to steady myself. What did she look like? I couldn't see her face very well. She was wearing big sunglasses and a hat. Long, dark hair. Young, I think. Thin. I'm so sorry I thought about whether to tell you, but if it were me, I'd want to know. What time was this? My voice sounded distant, not like my own. Around 2 in the afternoon. Weren't you at work? Yeah. And Derek told me he had a meeting with a client at 2. Alison was quiet for a moment. I'm so sorry, Bianca. After we hung up, I sat in silence. Long dark hair, young, thin. A description that could fit thousands of women. But my mind kept going to one person. No, it couldn't be. Not Jasmine, not my sister. That would be too cruel, too impossible. But the pieces kept clicking into place, the way they'd been sitting so close on the couch. The text message from Jay, the questions about my marriage, Derek's late nights and phone calls and changed passcode. I needed to know the truth. I needed evidence. That evening, Derek said he was going to work late. After he left, I did something I never thought I'd do. I went to his home office and opened his laptop. I knew the password because we'd always shared everything. At least we used to. The password still worked. I was in. I started going through his emails feeling guilty and justified at the same time. At first, I didn't find anything suspicious. Work emails, client correspondence, boring real estate documents. Then I opened his personal email account. There were receipts, dozens of them, dinners at expensive restaurants I'd never been to, jewelry purchases from high-end stores, a weekend getaway to a bed and breakfast 2 hours up the coast, all charged to our joint credit card, all on dates when Derek had told me he was working or out of town for business. I felt like I couldn't breathe. He'd been spending our money on someone else, taking her to romantic dinners, buying her gifts. While I was at home trusting him, trying to figure out why we couldn't get pregnant, he was building a whole other life. But who was she? I kept digging. Then I found an email exchange with someone named Marcus. The name sounded familiar. I thought Derek might have mentioned him as a business partner, but these emails weren't about business. Not really. Marcus was asking Derek about money, about investments, about where certain funds had gone. The tone was accusatory, angry. Derek's responses were defensive, evasive. One email from Marcus, dated just 5 days earlier, made my blood run cold. If you don't come clean about what you did with the partnership money, I'm going to the authorities. This is fraud, Derek. You could go to jail. Derek's response: give me until the end of the month. I can fix this. I just need a little more time. What had Derek done? What money was Marcus talking about? I kept searching, my hands shaking now. I found bank statements I'd never seen before, a separate account in Derek's name only. He'd been transferring money from our joint account into this private one, large amounts. Over the past 6 months, he'd moved almost $50,000. Then I found the investment documents. Derek had put that money into some kind of real estate development deal, a risky venture, and according to the latest statements, it was failing badly. The project was being sued for breach of contract. The investors were losing everything. Derek was on the hook for massive debts. We were in financial ruin, and I'd had no idea. I sat in his office chair, surrounded by evidence of lies and deception, trying to process it all. My husband was having an affair. He'd stolen from our joint account. He'd made terrible investments and lost everything. We were probably going to lose our house, and he'd hidden all of it from me, but I still didn't know who the woman was. I needed to know. As I was about to close the laptop, I saw one more folder. It was labelled Personal. Inside were photos. I clicked on the first one, and my heart stopped. It was Jasmine, my sister, in photo after photo. Some were innocent, just pictures of her smiling, but others were intimate. Her in Derek's arms, the two of them kissing. One photo was clearly taken in our guest bedroom. I recognized the blue walls, the quilt on the bed. They'd been together, in my house, in the room right next to where I slept. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. When there was nothing left in my stomach, I sat on the cold tile floor and cried. Not loud, dramatic sobs, just silent tears streaming down my face, my body shaking. My husband and my sister, the two people I trusted most in the world, besides my parents. They'd been betraying me together. For how long? Months. The whole time Derek and I had been trying to have a baby. Had he been sleeping with Jasmine too? Is that why I couldn't get pregnant? Because my husband was barely touching me. After a long time, I got up and washed my face. I looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes were red and swollen. My face was pale. But underneath the hurt, something else was building. Anger. Cold, clear anger. They thought I didn't know. They were planning something, I could feel it. My birthday dinner was in less than a week. What were they planning to do? And then it hit me. The pieces finally formed a complete picture. The dinner wasn't for me. It was for them. They were going to announce something, maybe that they were together. Maybe they'd wait until after ask for my blessing or my forgiveness. Maybe they thought if they did it publicly, surrounded by family, I couldn't make a scene. I went back to Derek's office. I carefully printed out the most damaging emails, the ones about the money, about the fraud, about the failing investments. I printed bank statements showing the transfers. I saved everything to a flash drive. I took pictures of the photos of Derek and Jasmine on my phone. Then I cleaned up, made sure everything looked exactly as I'd found it, and closed the laptop. I wasn't going to confront them yet. I was going to wait. I was going to let them play out whatever they had planned, and then I was going to destroy them both. 3 days before my birthday, Derek's phone rang late at night. We were already in bed. He looked at the screen and his face went pale. "I need to take this," he said, getting up and leaving the bedroom. I waited a few seconds, then quietly got up and stood by the door, listening. "Marcus, it's 11 at night," Derek was saying, his voice tense. "Can't this wait until tomorrow?" I couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, but Derek's responses told me enough. "I told you I'm working on it. No, I can't get you that money by Friday. Listen, you don't understand the situation. If you go to the authorities, we both go down. I have a plan, okay? Just give me a few more weeks." He hung up, and I heard him swear under his breath. I quickly got back in bed and pretended to be asleep. When Derek came back, he lay there for a long time. I could tell from his breathing he wasn't sleeping. The next morning he was gone before I woke up. He left a note saying he had early meetings. I spent the day at work, barely able to concentrate. I kept thinking about that phone call. Marcus was pressuring him. The walls were closing in on Derek financially, and he knew it. That evening I made a decision. I called Marcus. I'd found his number in Derek's emails. When he answered, I introduced myself as Derek's wife. "Mrs. Harris," Marcus said, his voice cautious. "What can I do for you? I heard you called my husband last night. It sounded urgent." There was a long pause. "Did Derek tell you what's going on? Why don't you tell me your version?" And Marcus did. He told me everything about the development deal Derek had convinced him and 2 other partners to invest in, about how Derek was supposed to be managing the project but had been hiding problems from everyone, about how Derek had been using partnership money for personal expenses, about how the whole project was collapsing and they were all being sued, about how Derek's actions might be criminal fraud. "I'm sorry to tell you this," Marcus said, "but you should know, if Derek goes down for this, they might come after joint assets. Your house, your savings, you need to protect yourself." "How much money are we talking about?" I asked, my voice steady, despite my racing heart. "Between what he took from the partnership and what he owes on the lawsuit, probably close to $200,000. I thanked Marcus and hung up. $200,000. We didn't have that kind of money. We'd lose everything unless Derek had a plan. What was his plan? That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed next to my husband, this man I'd loved and trusted, and realized I didn't know him at all. Who was Derek? A liar, a cheat, a thief. But what else? What was he planning the next day? I did more digging. I looked through our financial records, property documents, everything I could find, and then I discovered it. A property deed. Derek had bought a condo 6 months ago, a 1-bedroom place in the city, but it wasn't in his name. It was registered to a shell company, a business entity that barely existed on paper. I did some research. This kind of setup is often used to hide assets. If Derek got sued or went bankrupt, creditors couldn't touch property held in a separate business entity. He'd been planning an escape route, a place to run to, a way to hide money and assets from both the law and from me. Had he planned to take Jasmine there? Start a new life while I was left dealing with his debts and his disaster? The rage I'd been feeling crystallized into something sharper. They weren't just betraying me. Derek was setting me up to take the fall for his failures. He was going to ruin me and ride off into the sunset with my sister. That's when I knew exactly what I had to do. My birthday dinner was tomorrow night. Let them make their announcement. Let them think they've won. And then I'd reveal everything. Not in private, not in some tearful confrontation behind closed doors, but in front of everyone, my parents, my friends, Marcus, who I was going to invite personally. I spent that evening preparing. I organised all my evidence into a folder. I made copies. I wrote down everything I wanted to say, practiced it until I could deliver it calmly without breaking down. Derek came home late that night. He seemed nervous, distracted. He barely looked at me. "Big day tomorrow," he said. "Your birthday dinner." "I can't wait," I said, smiling at him. "I have a feeling it's going to be unforgettable." He had no idea how right I was. My birthday arrived. I spent the morning getting ready, taking extra care with my appearance. I wanted to look strong, composed, beautiful. I wore a navy dress that Derek had always loved. I did my makeup carefully, styled my hair. When I looked in the mirror, I saw someone ready for battle. Derek was already gone when I woke up. Another note about morning meetings. I wondered if he was with Jasmine going over their plan one last time. Alison called midday. "Are you okay? Do you want me to come over before the dinner?" "I'm fine," I told her. "Better than fine, actually. Tonight's going to be interesting." "Bianca, what are you planning?" "You'll see. Just be there, okay? I need you there. Always," she promised. The restaurant was called Marcello's, an upscale Italian place, with white tablecloths and soft lighting. Derek had reserved a private area in the back, a semi-enclosed space that still felt connected to the main dining room, close enough that other diners could see and hear us if things got loud. Perfect. I arrived exactly on time. My parents were already there, sitting at the large round table. Mum stood up and hugged me, wishing me happy birthday. Dad kissed my cheek. They looked happy, excited to celebrate. They had no idea what was coming. Alison arrived next, giving me a long, knowing look as she hugged me. She squeezed my hand and whispered, "I'm here." Then Derek walked in, looking handsome in a suit and tie. He smiled at everyone, played the role of the attentive husband. He kissed my cheek, and I let him, even though my skin crawled at his touch. "Happy birthday, sweetheart," he said. The lie rolled off his tongue so easily. "Thank you for organising this," I said sweetly. "It means so much." A few more friends arrived, and then, right before we were supposed to sit down, I saw Marcus walk in. I'd sent him a text this morning, told him there was something he needed to see tonight. He looked confused about why he was at my birthday dinner, but he nodded at me and took a seat. Derek noticed Marcus and his face tightened, but he didn't say anything. He couldn't cause a scene at my birthday dinner, not yet. Finally, Jasmine arrived. She looked stunning, wearing a red dress that hugged her figure. Her makeup was perfect, her hair in soft waves. She was glowing, literally glowing in that way women sometimes do. I knew that glow. I'd seen it in magazines, in movies, in pregnant women at the grocery store. She hugged Mum, and Dad greeted everyone cheerfully. When she got to me, she held me extra long. "Happy birthday, big sister," she whispered. "I love you." I almost laughed at the audacity of it. "Love you too," I said, my voice flat. We all sat down. Derek had arranged it so he was on one side of me and Jasmine was across the table between our parents. Strategic placement. I wondered if that was intentional. Dinner began. Appetizers were ordered, wine was poured. Everyone was chatting, laughing, celebrating. Dad made a toast about how proud he was of me, his accomplished daughter. Mum got teary talking about watching me grow up. Derek squeezed my hand under the table and I let him my face neutral. I picked at my food, barely tasting anything. I was watching, waiting. I noticed the little glances between Jasmine and Derek when they thought no one was looking. The way Jasmine kept touching her stomach unconsciously. The way Derek seemed tense, like a wire pulled too tight. Dessert was brought out. A beautiful cake with candles. Everyone sang happy birthday. I blew out the candles and made a wish. I wished for the truth. I wished for justice. I wished for the strength to do what I was about to do. And then, just as everyone was being served cake, Jasmine stood up. She picked up her champagne glass, the one she'd been pretending to drink from all night but had barely touched. Her hand was shaking slightly. "Everyone," she said, her voice high and nervous, "I have an announcement to make." The table went quiet. All eyes turned to her. I felt my heart start to pound, but I kept my face calm, curious, like I had no idea what was coming. I know this is Bianca's special day, Jasmine continued, her cheeks flushing pink, but I have news that can't wait. I'm just too excited to keep it inside anymore. Mum leaned forward eagerly. Dad smiled, thinking this was some good news to share on a happy occasion. I'm pregnant, Jasmine announced, her voice breaking with emotion. There was a split second of silence. Mum gasped. Some people started to clap, confused but happy. But then Jasmine kept talking. And the father, she looked down, then across at Derek. The father is Derek. The clapping stopped. Someone dropped their fork, and it clattered against the plate, loud in the sudden silence. Mum's mouth fell open. Dad's face went from confused to shocked to furious in the space of 3 seconds. I sat perfectly still, watching everyone's reactions. Alison's hand found mine under the table. Jasmine was looking at me now, tears streaming down her face. Bianca, I'm so sorry. We didn't mean for this to happen. We fell in love. Derek and I, we tried to fight it, but we couldn't. And when I found out I was pregnant, we knew we had to tell you. We couldn't lie anymore. Derek still hadn't looked up. He was staring at his plate, his jaw clenched. Mum started crying. Jasmine, how could you? Your own sister. Dad stood up his chair, scraping loudly. Derek, you son of a... Please, Jasmine said, holding up her hand. Please, just listen. Derek and Bianca, they've been unhappy for a long time. He told me their marriage was basically over. They were going to get divorced anyway. We didn't want to hurt anyone, but we couldn't help our feelings. I watched this performance with something like detached fascination. She really believed it. She really thought Derek loved her, that they were going to be together. She had no idea what was really happening. Everyone was looking at me now, waiting for me to cry, to scream, to break down. Alison squeezed my hand harder. Instead, I took a sip of my water, set the glass down carefully, and then I stood up. Congratulations, Jasmine, I said, my voice steady. And Derek. Jasmine looked shocked that I wasn't screaming. Derek finally looked up at me, confusion and fear in his eyes. I've known about your affair for weeks, I continued calmly. I've been waiting to see how far you'd both go. Jasmine's face went white. You knew. I know a lot of things, I said. I reached into my purse and pulled out the folder I'd prepared. I know about every dinner you took her to Derek, every gift you bought her with our money, every lie you told me about working late. I looked around the table. Everyone was frozen watching. This was better than I'd hoped, an audience for the truth. But that's not the interesting part, I said. I turned to Jasmine. The interesting part is what Derek hasn't told you. Jasmine was still standing, her champagne glass trembling in her hand. What are you talking about? Sit down, Bianca, Derek said, his voice low and warning. Let's not do this here. No, I think here is perfect, I said. I opened the folder and pulled out the first document. Jasmine, you should see this. I walked around the table and handed her the papers. She took them with shaking hands, her eyes scanning the page. It was the email exchange between Derek and Marcus about the missing money. Derek's been stealing from his business partners, I explained as Jasmine read. He took money from their investment fund and used it for personal expenses, including, I'm guessing, that condo he told you he bought for your future together. Jasmine's head snapped up, looking at Derek. You said you saved that money. You said it was from a big sale. It was fraud, I continued. He's being investigated. He's probably going to be charged. He owes close to $200,000. Money he doesn't have. Marcus spoke up from his seat. It's true. I've been trying to get Derek to come clean for months. He's ruined our partnership and potentially committed criminal fraud. Dad's face had gone from angry to horrified. Derek, is this true? Derek stood up, finally, his hands raised. Everyone just calm down. Let me explain. By all means, I said, crossing my arms. Explain. But before Derek could speak, I pulled out more papers. bank statements showing the transfers from our joint account, the property deed for the condo registered under the shell company. "Here's the best part, Jasmine," I said, handing her these new documents. "That condo isn't in Derek's name. It's in a fake company name. Do you know why people do that?" Jasmine was crying now, black mascara running down her cheeks. She shook her head. "To hide assets," I explained. "When Derek gets sued when he goes bankrupt, creditors can't touch that property. It's protected. He can lose everything else and still have that condo safe and sound." I let that sink in for a moment before delivering the final blow. "Which means Derek was planning to leave both of us holding the bag," I said, looking between Jasmine and Derek. "He was going to let his financial disaster destroy our marriage, probably blame me somehow. Then he'd run to you, Jasmine, with his hidden condo and whatever other assets he's squirreled away. And when that got old, when you became inconvenient, he'd leave you too. Probably already have another place set up somewhere." "That's not true," Derek said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Bianca, you're twisting everything." "Am I?" I turned to Marcus. Tell them what you told me about Derek's pattern." Marcus looked uncomfortable but spoke up. "Derek's done this before, with his last business partners. Made bad investments, hid the losses, then disappeared when things got bad. We did our research too late. He's a con artist. A good one, but still a con artist." Jasmine sank into her chair, the papers falling from her hands. She looked at Derek like she was seeing him for the first time. "You lied to me about everything." "Jasmine, baby, no." Derek moved toward her, but she held up her hand. "Don't," she whispered. "Don't call me that." Mum was crying into Dad's shoulder. My friends were sitting in shocked silence. This birthday dinner had become a public execution, and I was the one holding the axe. "Here's what's going to happen," I said, my voice clear and strong. "Derek, you're going to move out of our house tonight. Tomorrow I'm filing for divorce. My lawyer already has copies of everything I just showed you all. I'll make sure I'm not liable for any of your debts. I'll make sure you don't get a cent from me." "Bianca, please." Derek's face had crumbled. He looked smaller, suddenly pathetic. "We can work this out." "No," I said simply. "We can't." I turned to Jasmine. She was staring at the table, tears dripping onto the white tablecloth. "As for you," I said to my sister. My voice was colder than I'd ever heard it. "I don't know if you're really pregnant, or if that was part of his plan to manipulate me, but either way, you chose him over me. You chose to betray your own sister. So, congratulations, Jasmine. You won. You got Derek. I hope you enjoy what comes next." Jasmine looked up at me, her face destroyed. "I'm so sorry. Bianca, please, I didn't know about any of this. He told me you two were over. He told me you didn't love each other anymore. I never would have." "But you did," I interrupted. "You did it anyway. In my house, while I was trying to have a baby with my husband, while I was trusting both of you." "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry." I looked at her for a long moment. Part of me wanted to hate her forever. Part of me wanted to scream and cry and make her hurt the way I was hurting, but mostly I just felt empty, tired. "I know you are," I said quietly, "but sorry doesn't fix this." I picked up my purse. "Thank you all for coming to my birthday dinner. It's been enlightening. Alison, can you drive me home?" My best friend was already standing, grabbing her coat. We walked out together, leaving chaos behind us. I could hear Mum yelling at Derek, Dad demanding answers, Jasmine crying, but I didn't look back. In the parking lot, Alison hugged me tight. "Are you okay?" "No," I said honestly, "but I will be," and I meant it. For the first time in weeks, despite everything, I felt like I could breathe. The first few days after the dinner were the hardest. I filed for divorce that Monday, just like I said I would. My lawyer was excellent, and with all the evidence I had of Derek's fraud and adultery, the case was open and shut. We lived in a no-fault state, but his hidden assets and financial crimes made the proceedings much clearer. Derek moved out immediately. He tried calling me dozens of times those first few days. I blocked his number. He sent emails. I sent them straight to my lawyer. He showed up at my work once. Security escorted him out. He was desperate, realizing too late that his carefully constructed house of cards was collapsing. The investigation into his business dealings moved forward. Marcus and the other partners filed formal complaints. From what I heard through my lawyer, Derek was going to face civil lawsuits at minimum, possibly criminal charges depending on what the investigators found. The condo, his precious hidden asset, got seized when the extent of his fraud came to light. Turned out you can't hide assets by putting them in fake company names if those companies are being used to commit fraud. The court froze everything connected to him. I made sure to legally separate all my assets from his before the lawsuits started piling up. My lawyer filed papers proving I had no knowledge of his business dealings, that our finances had been kept separate beyond one joint account, and that I was a victim of his deception too. It worked. The creditors went after Derek, not me. I kept our house, my savings, everything I'd worked for. My relationship with my family was more complicated. Mum called me every day for 2 weeks straight. She'd go back and forth between apologizing for Jasmine and trying to defend her. She didn't know about the money. She thought he really loved her. She's your sister. She betrayed me, Mum, I told her during one of these calls. I don't care what lies Derek told her. She made the choice to sleep with my husband. That's not something I can just forgive because we share DNA. Dad was easier. He was furious with both Derek and Jasmine. He told me he was proud of how I handled everything, how strong I'd been. That meant more to me than he probably knew. Jasmine sent me a letter 2 weeks after the dinner. It was pages long, handwritten, covered in tear stains. She explained everything from her perspective, how Derek had pursued her months ago, telling her I didn't love him anymore, how he'd said we were staying married for appearances but planning to divorce, how he'd made her feel special, chosen, loved, how she'd believed every word. She admitted she'd suspected something was wrong when he kept their relationship secret for so long, but he'd convinced her they needed to wait for the right time to tell me to let me down, gently. The pregnancy, she wrote, had forced his hand. She'd found out 2 weeks before my birthday and given him an ultimatum: tell me or she would. So the birthday dinner announcement had been Derek's idea. His way of controlling the narrative, making it public so I couldn't react privately, maybe hoping family pressure would force me to accept it gracefully. It hadn't worked. Jasmine's letter ended with a confession. She'd decided not to keep the pregnancy. After learning about Derek's lies, his fraud, the kind of person he really was, she couldn't imagine bringing a child into that situation. She'd had an abortion the week after the dinner. I don't expect you to forgive me, she wrote. I don't forgive myself. I destroyed the most important relationship in my life for a man who was using both of us. I'll regret it forever. I hope someday you can think of me without hating me. That's all I can ask for. I read that letter 3 times. Then I put it in a drawer and didn't respond. I wasn't ready to forgive her. Maybe I never would be, but I also didn't hate her anymore. Hate required energy I didn't have. Mostly, I felt sad. Sad for what we'd lost. Sad for the sister relationship that would never be the same. The person who saved me during those weeks was Alison. She came over almost every night. We'd order takeout, watch terrible reality TV, and sometimes just sit in silence. She let me cry when I needed to and made me laugh when I was ready. She reminded me who I was outside of my marriage, outside of my family drama. You're going to get through this, she told me one night, as we sat on my couch with ice cream. You're the strongest person I know. I don't feel strong, I admitted. I feel broken. Broken things can be put back together, she said. Sometimes they're even stronger at the broken places. Work helped too. I threw myself into my job, taking on extra projects, staying late at the office. My boss noticed my increased dedication and called me into her office one day. I don't know what's going on in your personal life, she said, and you don't have to tell me. But I see you working harder than ever, and I appreciate it. We're promoting you to Senior Marketing Manager. It comes with a raise and a better title. You've earned it. I cried in her office. Happy tears this time. At least something in my life was moving forward. 3 months after the birthday dinner, I started therapy. I'd been resisting it, thinking I could handle everything on my own. But one night, I had a panic attack sitting alone in my house, unable to breathe, convinced my chest was going to explode. That scared me enough to make the call. My therapist, Dr. Chen, was patient and kind. She helped me process the betrayal, the loss, the anger. She helped me see that what happened wasn't my fault, that I couldn't have prevented it, that some people are just broken in ways you can't fix or foresee. You trusted them, she told me during one session. That's not a weakness, that's a beautiful quality. Don't let this take that away from you. But it had taken something away. I didn't trust as easily anymore. I questioned people's motives. I built walls where there used to be open doors. Dr. Chen said that was normal part of the healing process. Eventually, she promised I'd learn to trust again, carefully, selectively, but I'd get there. 6 months out, I felt like a different person. The divorce was finalized. Derek had vanished, probably to another state, running from his creditors and legal troubles. I heard through Marcus that Derek had tried to start over somewhere else, but his reputation followed him. No one wanted to work with him anymore. Jasmine had moved out of state too. Mum told me she was living in Oregon, working a regular job, seeing a therapist, trying to rebuild her life. We hadn't spoken since the letter. Mum stopped asking me when I was going to forgive her. I started doing things I'd put off during my marriage. I took a painting class and discovered I had a talent for abstract art. I joined a book club and made new friends who knew nothing about my past. I went on weekend trips by myself, exploring towns along the coast, staying in little bed and breakfasts, eating at restaurants, without checking my phone every 5 minutes. I was learning to be alone without being lonely, learning to enjoy my own company, learning that I was complete all by myself, not just half of a couple. 1 year after that birthday dinner, Alison threw me a party. A rebirth day, she called it. Just a few close friends, dinner at a nice restaurant, laughter and wine and celebration. When they brought out the cake with candles, I made a wish. Not for revenge or justice or even healing, just for peace. For myself and for everyone else caught in the wreckage of what happened. That night, as I lay in bed, I thought about everything I'd learned, about how people you love can hurt you in ways you never imagined. About how strength sometimes looks like standing up and fighting, and sometimes looks like walking away. About how the end of one story is just the beginning of another. I thought about Derek and Jasmine sometimes still. Not with anger anymore, mostly with a kind of distant curiosity. What were they doing now? Had Derek learned anything? Had Jasmine? Or were they just repeating the same patterns with different people? I hoped not. Despite everything, I hoped they'd both grown from what happened. Not for them, really, for whoever came next in their lives. As for me, I was okay. More than okay, actually. I had a job I loved, friends who supported me, a future that felt open and full of possibility. I'd started dating again, nothing serious, just casual dinners and movies, testing the waters, learning to trust my instincts again. And the house, my house, now felt like mine. I'd redecorated, changed everything that reminded me of Derek. New paint colours, new furniture, new energy. It was a sanctuary now, not a reminder of what I'd lost. Mum and I had dinner every few weeks. She'd stopped mentioning Jasmine unless I brought it up. Dad and I had gotten even closer. He told me once that watching me handle everything with such grace had made him proud to be my father. I cried hearing that. The scars were still there. I still had moments when something would trigger a memory and I'd feel that familiar ache. Seeing couples holding hands, hearing a certain song, passing by Marcello's restaurant. But the ache was duller now, more like an old injury that throbs in bad weather than a fresh wound. I'd learned that healing isn't linear. Some days were harder than others. Some nights I still cried, but those moments got fewer and farther between, and I was learning to sit with the sadness when it came to acknowledge it without letting it consume me. Now, almost 18 months later, I look back on that birthday dinner as the night everything changed, not the night everything fell apart. but the night I took control. The night I refused to be a victim. The night I chose myself. Would I have preferred not to go through it at all? Of course. Would I have rather had a faithful husband and a loyal sister and a normal life? Absolutely. But I can't change what happened. I can only control what I do next. And what I've done is build a life I'm proud of. A life that's authentically mine, not shaped around someone else's needs or lies. I wake up every morning in my own space on my own terms. I make decisions based on what I want, not what someone else expects. I've learned the difference between being alone and being lonely. I've learned that I'm enough just as I am. Sometimes people ask me if I forgive Derek and Jasmine. The honest answer is complicated. I don't think about them enough to actively hold on to anger. But forgiveness feels like too strong a word for what I feel. Maybe acceptance is better. Acceptance that it happened, that it hurt, and that I survived it. I haven't spoken to Jasmine. Mum tells me she's doing well, that she asks about me. Part of me wonders if we'll ever rebuild our relationship. Another part of me thinks some broken things stay broken, and that's okay too. We can both move forward without reconciliation. Maybe that's the kindest thing for both of us. The lessons I learned that year are ones I carry with me every day. Trust your gut. When something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't ignore red flags because you want to believe the best in people. Protect yourself, your finances, your heart. And when you discover betrayal, don't suffer in silence. Speak up. Stand up. Walk away if you need to. I also learned that you're stronger than you think. In your darkest moments when you think you can't survive this, you will. You'll wake up the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. Slowly, bit by bit, you'll rebuild. You'll find yourself again, maybe even find a better version of yourself. Most importantly, I learned that happiness isn't about having a perfect life or perfect people around you. It's about knowing yourself, respecting yourself, and refusing to settle for anything less than you deserve. It's about building a life that feels right from the inside, not one that looks right from the outside. That birthday dinner, as painful as it was, gave me that gift. It forced me to see the truth. It gave me the push I needed to stop accepting crumbs and start demanding the whole meal. It showed me I could stand on my own, fight my own battles, and come out the other side stronger. So now, when people ask me about that night, about how I handled it, I tell them the truth. I tell them it was the worst night of my life and the best night of my life both at once. It was the night I lost everything I thought I had and gained everything I actually needed. It was the night I stopped being someone's wife, someone's sister, someone's victim, and became fully, completely myself. And that person, she's someone I'm proud to be. Before I let you go, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to confront someone publicly about their betrayal? How did you handle it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, someone who's going through their own betrayal and needs to know they can survive it too. Thank you for listening to my story. It wasn't easy to share, but if it helps even one person find their strength, it was worth it. Remember, you're stronger than you know. Trust yourself, protect yourself, and never settle for less than you deserve. Whatever you're facing today, whatever battles you're fighting, I'm sending you strength. You've got this. And sometimes the worst betrayals lead to the best transformations. My birthday dinner wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning. And your new beginning is waiting for you too.